So the story goes, this picture was taken August 4th, 1948. 1948. That's not too far. That's not too long ago, y'all. 1948. This is not 100 years ago. This is not 100 years ago. She was 24, married to an unemployed man 16 years older, and pregnant with her 5th child in 6 years at the time of the photo. Apparently, shortly thereafter, the father abandoned the family, and records show he had a criminal record. Lucille went on government assistance. A 5th child, David, was born in 1949. But David was either removed from the home or relinquished in July of 1950. He was covered in bed bug bites and in rough shape. He was adopted by a loving but strict home and ran away at 16, spent 20 years in the military, and has been a truck driver ever since. Ray says that she was sold for $2 in August of 1950 so her mother could have bingo money, and because the man her mother was dating did not want anything to do with the children. Milton was standing nearby crying, so that family took him too. Sadly, their new father was horribly abusive. Ray ran away at 17. Milton was removed from the home due to abuse and eventually ended up in a mental hospital, diagnosed with schizophrenia and having fits of rage. He was released in 1967 at the age of 23. He eventually married, moved to Arizona, and is now divorced. 1967. That ain't too far ago. That ain't too long ago. What the fuck y'all talking about, man? No one knows what happened to Lana other than she died of cancer in 1998. Sue Ellen was adopted, but I've not been able to find out any additional information other than she had 2 sons. She told her children that she was sold by her mother. I sure will. I sure will. I sure will. I sure will. Sue Ellen, as she was dying of lung disease, said, "My mother needs to be in hell burning." Milton says, "My birth mother, she never loved me. She didn't apologize for selling me. She hated me so much that she didn't care." David says, "Our mother got rid of all of us children, married someone else, had 4 more daughters. She kept them. She didn't keep us. We're all human beings. We all make mistakes. She could have been thinking about the children, didn't want them to die." 1948, y'all. Abolishing child labor took the specter of white slavery in the job market to near collapse during the Great Depression. Okay. Most kids under age 15 worked up to 14 hours a day, either alongside their parents or for an employer. Unless they were rich, in that case, other children worked for their families. Okay, enslaved children typically working alongside their mothers in the fields at a very young age. They also did housework. Okay, yeah, it's something we already knew. Okay, this ain't shit. Child labor laws. Okay. 1 in 8 kids were working. Child labor. 1900 census found that more than 1 in 5 children worked. Okay, the South is always one to, So here we go. The image of pale, shrunken-faced, debilitated poor white boys and girls in southern textile mills was sensationalized in the North as white child slavery. Once again, the Civil War was not about freeing black slaves. It was about freeing white slaves, or the potentiality of northern white slaves becoming slaves. Because the North didn't know how bad it was down South until some people went down there, took pictures, wrote stories. Then all of a sudden the North is like, oh my God, the South must be stopped. Because the South wanted to enslave everybody, black or white. And free whites in the North were like, you can't do that. Okay, got you. Right? Remember, the South wanted to, the North wanted to tax the South. The South wanted to use machinery. Who wanted to use machinery to replace the slaves? Whatever. Somebody wanted to bring in machines to pick more cotton, and the North wanted to tax them for that. and hence, the whole Civil War thing in the nutshell. But basically, a lot of northern white folks are like, oh no, they must be stopped. They want to enslave everybody, because in the South, white slaves were predominant. You could be a ginger. You could be a straight white ginger. You were a slave. And that was the first time a lot of northern whites saw southern whites as slaves, right next side to a black slave. And they're like, oh my, no, we can't have this. We cannot have this. The Forgotten Cause of the Civil War is a great read to get you up to speed on how the Civil War became. Okay? Let's see. Once the issue became a national obsession, activists formed the National Child Labor Committee in 1904 to change the public conscience on this issue. Because white folk did not want to see their kids, or kids, working these these crazy hours and these dangerous facilities. Right? Here we go. Culture War. Southern industrialists resisted regulations, insisting that they were uplifting poor whites. They denounced child labor reform as aggressive northern interference. Despite Southern opposition, reformers argued that state-level regulations were rife with loopholes and difficult to enforce. In 23 states, for instance, there were no official way to determine children's ages. Additionally, many states allowed poor children to work out of necessity. You couldn't determine a child's age? This is insane. The committee first pushed to outlaw child labor in 1906 on the grounds that it weakened the white race and therefore interfered with the U.S. plans for global dominance. Okay. Wait. Why are we beefing in the comments? Wait. Why are we beefing in the comments? What happened? Hold up, everybody. Put down your weapons. Pause. Why are we beefing in the comments? Why are we beefing in the comments? Okay. There was the beverage bill brought by Senator Albert Beveridge of Indiana, sought to use the Commerce Clause of the U.S. Constitution to ban the interstate shipment of products made by child labor. The Southern opponents defeated it. 1913, the minister Owen Lovejoy brought the new religious allies to the committee, which by then focused on the sinfulness of child labor in America. 1916, they got Congress to pass the first federal child labor law. The new law prohibited shipping products made with child labor across state lines. North Carolina mill worker Roland Degenhardt challenged the measure in court on the grounds that it violated his right to have his sons employed. The case went before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in Degenhardt's favor in 1918. Reformers will try again, using the federal taxing power to tax the products of child labor, but the Supreme Court would strike the law down. Okay, it was deemed unconstitutional in 1922. Okay. Northern reformers tried to amend the U.S. Constitution. Prohibition had recently secured the 18th Amendment, and women had just gained suffrage through the 19th Amendment. Okay. U.S. culture was changing at the time. Americans were beginning to consider adolescence as a separate developmental stage between childhood and adulthood. Likewise, the education of children through high school was gradually becoming mandatory. Okay. All right, let me see. 1922 study of seasonal demand for farm labor in Virginia, Maryland, and New Jersey found that 3/5 of white children and nearly 3/4 of black children were working before the age of 10. Southern industrialists seized the moment, warning thousands of farm families of a government takeover of their farms. A collective uprising against a child labor constitutional amendment became yet another culture war, this time between rural and urban communities. Reformers panicked, buying radio spots and distributing pamphlets backing off the notion that they wanted to interfere with family farms. Look at this. Wanted small boys apply first floor. Jeezy Pete's. All right, it took the Great Depression to resolve the debate over child labor. Both Southerners and Northerners embraced an argument that union organizers had been making for decades and agreed that all available jobs in the nation should go to adult workers rather than children. Okay. Here we go. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal included the first federal child labor law not to be overturned by the Supreme Court. This 1938 law included provisions banning child labor under the age of 14 in most industries, while exempting children under 16 employed in agriculture and children working for their parents in most occupations. All right, today's FDR's measure is still the basis of child labor laws in America. It was a major victory, to be sure, but its limitations reflect the mixed legacies of the movement to abolish child labor. I don't know how the hell did I even get here? I don't understand how I got here.